All right. So if you can hear me, that means you are in Iwineti Africa. And you probably do not know who I am if this is your first time watching this. I am not a newscaster. I am not an anchor. I'm not a correspondent, but I do enjoy giving these interviews, right? And these interviews, we've been doing it for about 2 or 3 years. And this year, we decided just to honor a lot of people who have essentially been with us. They have helped us make this platform an awesome platform. They have helped us give value to those who watch us. It's been a minute since we last showed up. It's like a cartoon I saw on the radio yesterday. I listened to on the radio yesterday. The boss walks in and was nice to everyone. And then somebody mentions the fact that he was nice to everyone this time last year. So they concluded that speech by saying that people tend to do what they should do all year round when it's Christmas. So it's Christmas. We want to do what we should do all year round. Be nice to people, say hello, share our thoughts with people. And I hope you want to be part of it till the end. How is this going to go down? How is this going to go down? We're going to have at least 7 of us who were here before have acknowledged that they will be on the show at some point during the show. So I'll let them share their thoughts around what they've been up to in 2023, how they see 2024 panning out, and what advice they have for you, the audience. So if you're out there, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what you do. Don't be afraid to advertise yourself. In fact, we're probably going to pick up a few things from the chat in terms of what you do and how you can be of value to others who are watching. So give me a minute and we'll just get started very, very quickly. All right, as you can see on the show, I already have 4 guests, and I'll first of all let them introduce themselves, then I'll say something else about what we do here. And I'm going to start from, I hope you can hear me. Yes, everybody can hear me, wave at me. Yeah, thank you. All right, so let me start from Nana Serwaa and ask her to introduce herself. Just one liner, you're not answering the questions yet, but give me a one-liner, introduce yourself.
Okay, so good evening, audience, and thanks once again, Ken Igiri, for bringing me back on the show, and I'm very delighted to be here again. I'm Nana Serwaa Opoku-Kulor, and I'm into the technology industry and basically into project management, IoTs, and basically all the new technologies available. Thank you, and I'll be looking forward to have fun here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nana Serwaa. Let's switch over to Anne in the spirit of ladies first.
Hello, everyone. Unfortunately, I can't seem to see everyone on the screen.
Really?
My name is Anne, and I would actually have to say I'm an intercultural communication coach, teacher of English, to do all of that. Yeah, so that's
awesome. Great to have you join us, and it's good to see you again. You look awesome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
And let me switch over to Patrick. Awesome guy. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much for this amazing opportunity for us to talk among ourselves, among Africans, among the world. And as the name suggested, my name is Patrick Odiegwu, and the chief servant of Polyguard Investment Nigeria Limited. Polyguard is into mining, agriculture. We say mining. What's mining? Mining is actually where Africa needs to come strong. Africa needs to wake up and come strong. Come on the table. Come on the table. Get it back on the table in the scheme of things in the world. We cannot be a pipeline to giving people our resources. and they are industrializing our resources, and we are finding money that we should keep within ourselves to buy the same resources. So we need to wake up. Food-wise, it actually, we jump into agriculture because I heard somebody say something that the Russian-Ukraine debacle, that Africa is going to go into starvation because Russia and Ukraine decide to go and damage the environment. And I said, no, we have a arable land. We can actually till the land. Our land is fertile. Why would we not be able to feed ourselves? That's what prompted us to get into agriculture. And I'm happy to say that we have harvested sesame seed, and we're going to do the winnowing and the threshing by next week. So seemingly over 20 hectares was cultivated. Now we really want to go very, very big on agriculture because we can't leave this thing to chance. We cannot leave it to chance, and we cannot continue to speak English up and down. No, it's time for us to get our hands dirty and then build a continent, a nation, a country, a community that we all can be very proud of. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Awesome. And the last time Patrick was here, we talked about mining in Nigeria, and I told everyone that Odiegwu means something in Igbo. That means it is awesome, right? I like the name a lot, so I keep talking about what it means. It is awesome. Odiegwu, you know. Wow. The Kubyane just joined us.
Hello. Hello.
This is an awesome reunion. Let me allow Shadrack and Pretty just introduce themselves before I switch over to the next section. Go ahead, sir. Just a liner introduction.
Thank you kindly. It's Shadrack Kubyane from the tip of the southern African continent. For the last 6 months, I've been obsessing about moving cabbage from A to B with carrots in between using technology. Thank you kindly.
Awesome.
Awesome, Shadrack.
Pretty Kubyane. Pretty was my first, let me call her my first guest on the new phase of Iwineti Africa. Then she introduced me to her husband, Shadrack. And one of the days, Shadrack asked me the big question: would you like to interview people like Aliko Dangote?
Yeah.
And then I said, well, yes, but I want to also bring people who are not that popular into this space. And that's one of the things we're about, you know, bringing the established entrepreneurs together with the emerging entrepreneurs, you know, to give them that kind of support and limelight. And Shadrack and Pretty have been awesome. You know, I tell people that, look, if you have a platform and you're looking for many followers, that is a good vision. But if you have 1 or 2 followers, like one is 1,000, you know, it's also a good thing. When you have one person who can make the impact in your life that 1,000 people make, that's awesome. So we're going to allow our guests today to answer 3 questions. But before I do that, I'm going to switch over and show you the agenda. If everyone can see the agenda, we have only 4 items. But in between those 4 items, we are going to allow our guests to really, really share their heart. Wow, Kathy Smiles, I see you. Thank you for joining us from Accra. We are going to basically allow them to answer 3 basic questions. 1, what have you been up to in 2023? 2, how do you see 2024 panning out? 3, what advice do you have for those who are watching, entrepreneurs, career people, and so forth? And I want to mention that in this session, we are seriously trying not to be too serious, right? Now, that means that we're going to just have fun, tell a few jokes. You will notice I'm not a very good comedian, and I just remembered a joke that was told me by my boss. He's very good at it. He said that if 2 vegans are having a squabble among themselves, it is still called a beef. Now, if you didn't laugh, that's fine. You can just type LOL. It happens on social media. You're still serious in your face, but you're saying laughing out loud, you know. Well, yeah, I mean, it's fine. So it's not funny. So we are trying not to be serious, really. We want to be just free, and everybody laughs, everybody has a good time, everybody just says hello this period. So Freda Tanyo, it's great to have you. Joining from Enugu, Nigeria. Freda was an Iwineti Africa, and she talked about her project, which she was doing somewhere in the hinterland of Ghana. Now she's in Enugu, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to switch over. I'm going to start from, where do I start from? Who wants to vote? If you're on the chat, external chat, I want you to vote. Tell me where I should start from. Who do you want to hear from first? Tell me. You have 1 minute. If you don't tell me in 1 minute, then I will choose who to start from. Before I say that, I want someone to answer the question. What does Iwineti mean? The first five answers. Thank you, Nana Serwaa, for that. The first five answers, okay, the first three answers, let's not give away too much. We have a gift for you. We have a 6-month program next year. We're going to allow you to come in free if you tell me what Iwineti means and what language it is. So the challenge is on. All right, Shadrack and Peter have been voted to start. And I am safe because I have a lady among him. So ladies first is still observed while I'm allowing Shadrack to put it. So you're answering 3 questions. The first, what has 2023 been like for you? What do you like to share? What do you see 2024 becoming like? And what advice do you have for us? You have the ball.
Thank you. Thank you kindly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us. It's good to reconnect. 2023 was quite a power-packed year for us. I think there was so much that was happening, lots of adrenaline pumping that we did not even know when we were tired. Only now that we are slowing down, that our body's beginning to like just cave in with exhaustion because of so many things. I guess when you are busy with something you're passionate about, it doesn't feel like work, that your body even is tricked into thinking that we're having fun, but you forget to rest. So 2024, I think again is another year of, it will be a lot focused. We will be digging deeper. We'll have more quality than quantity. So yeah, and I think that's the same thing that I advise that I will give, to say that today the world is so noisy. We should learn to focus. It's okay to say no if things don't align with what you do, and so that you can take care of yourself while you focus even on your career or business.
Yeah. Thank you kindly. Firstly, thanks for making possible the reunion of all times. Thanks for putting this calendar date on our year. And yes, Anne, we see you over there. And Patrick, we see you there. And Nana Serwaa, we salute you there. So looks like the world is represented. Nigeria, Ireland, Switzerland, South Africa, Ghana. The heartbeat of the planet is here. I think she said everything that has been on my heart, but I'm going to reflect on one thing, the mute. You know, during the COVID lockdowns, we would hear a lot of people saying, you are on mute, you are on mute. I personally discovered during 2023, without any COVID, that the mute button is not such a bad idea. It's actually quite good. You may not place yourself on mute, but there's a whole lot around you that you may have to selectively place the happenings around you on mute so that you can recover, you can recharge, and you can also, with a single focus on those items that are moving the needle upwards for your personal goals, for your personal achievement, and also for the well-being of the continent or country you call home. That's not possible to pursue those big ticket stuff if you don't use the mute button. There must be trade-offs. There must be trade-offs. That was a wake-up call for me in 2023, whereby the lockdowns are over. I was not as frequently on Zoom, but live became like a Zoom session where I had to intentionally mute this, mute that, mute. I even had to mute myself, by the way, when end of November, I had to go offline on LinkedIn. That was a mute button because the year has been so packed that we had to locate that mute button so that we can take an early rest, because 2024 is going to be even a double packed, because we are seeing more intentionality and more results, and hopefully moving the needle upwards a couple more notches for development. And advice for the audiences: don't be shy to use the mute button if it's going to help you with your mental health, and if it's going to help you in the long term to help your family, your community, and the continent that you call home. Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much, Shadrack. That was awesome. I heard this a long time ago. Focus is the first law of success. And Shadrack has said, I mean, mute what you need to mute and focus on what is most important in the season of your life that you are in. That's so powerful. If you're in the audience and you heard that and you got that, I'd just like you to echo it in the comments. And thank you, Pretty, for that insight on personal well-being. Yes, a lot of things demand our time, our energy, our thinking faculties, but we just need to balance our lives. Let me switch over to Semadeni-George, all the way from Switzerland.
Hey, I must say, I'm just so thrilled to see Shadrack and Pretty. You know, I knew that they were taking that time, and I have the segue into what Shadrack was talking about, unplanned. Kenneth, would you put it in such a way that I can see everyone's faces so that it's not just mine? Yes, I'd like that. There is a concept in the Japanese culture, and it's called ma, M-A, ma, yeah? And the concept of ma is it's a silence. It's a silence that's very, very deep and very, very profound. And the idea of this silence is to incorporate this silence into the way you think, the way you act, and the things you do. So I first encountered it when I was doing my teacher training. And, I was a bit of a, fill in the noise, when the students, they're adults doing the thing, I have something to say, I want to help. And then I came across this notion of just allowing for the silence in between something. Now, you can read up on that a little bit, but here's one of the more interesting aspects. I say something, you don't answer me. And then you answer me. For those of us in cultures that are used to a quick, answer, and hey, we want to show our wit, right? I was trained British style, we have the witty comeback, and then all of a sudden you don't answer immediately. You just, as I've gotten older and I've slowed down even the way I speak now as a result of that, because I've realized someone says something like Shadrack just said that, and he goes, we got to put the mute button. And then I look at him and then I go, man, that was really cool. And, I will tell you, to go on into my idea of what the year was and what was happening. When I had to look, I think what I've had to do over 2023 is really to refine, if we had to use a term, my brand, yeah. But essentially what it meant is for me, I turned 60 this year. I found myself struggling to find good paying work. And then it wasn't as if I questioned who I was. What I did is I said to myself, how am I positioning myself? How am I presenting myself? And then I had to ask myself the question, what is it? So this is the question that I'll be working on, because as Shadrack and Pretty are doing, I'm actually planning to spend the next weeks until the end of the year into a very interesting astrological, I didn't realize this, but it's called the waning gibbous, Gibbous. I happened across it when I was looking for the weather in Switzerland with the snow. And it said, the moon is a waning gibbous. And I was like, I love words. What is gibbous? Gibbous actually is used to describe the moon, but it's also described for a period of time where you pull inwards and you're introspective and you're taking time to reflect. And then I said, okay, Lord, because I talked to the Lord about these things, give me a couple of questions. And he said, Anne, if you're trying to figure out who you are in terms of work, can you just figure out what is completely unique to you, that only you have, your set of upbringing, character, circumstances, faith? And so that is really the question that came out of 2023 that I'll be taking into 2024, along with the second notion, which is I am actually a microculture specialist, because it's the little bits of culture that I love. It's that little bit, you and I talk, and I watch you, and I hear you, and I hear what you haven't said, for instance. So that's really it. The term microculture exists, but it's not very well known. But that will be it. And if I had to give a piece of advice, and I think I will say this, but and I know you mean for a light-hearted things, but some things have happened to me over the past few months, as my brothers and sisters in faith, some of the things I've faced. And then along with this coming back in, it was the idea of the mustard seed. The fact that we are told in the good book that the mustard seed in the earth can end up being the most powerful tree. And I just wanted to tell, if there are any young people or any older people like me, go back to the mustard seed that you are. Go back to that mustard seed, that microcosm of unique talents and abilities that define you, that only you can represent. That goes into the earth of your life, into the earth of your circumstances. Draw into you in this time of reflection what it is that's going to help you emerge. Because when you emerge and become that big tree, it's not just for yourself, because the good book also says all the birds of the air will come and take shelter under you. And I think many of us here are people who want to serve. But just that lesson that Shadrack and Priti had, I was actually taking it for myself, because when they signaled, stuff is like here, it was actually an alarm bell even for me. Because I said, Lord, if they are doing that, then surely there's something in for me. So I would like to give that message now, to withdraw into your mustard seed, pull out everything from the 2023 that was around you, but only the good. And when you emerge again in 2024, you will not only have yourself, you will be able to serve others. So that would be my message.
That is absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
For those of you who've been hearing and speaking very gently, you know who to blame now. It's the Japanese, right? So that thought about waiting, you listen, you stop, you pause before you speak. Being able to answer immediately doesn't mean you're smart. It could mean you're just trying to look smart, and that's powerful. Pause and reflect. It reminded me of the word that was frequently used in the book that Anne made reference to, the Bible. At intervals, you would hear Selah, and people have attributed that to mean that it actually means pause and reflect. And thank you for that effort you've told us to make to essentially find ourselves. And I think it aligns with what Shadrack said earlier, to knock out a few other things that are in excess and identify that micro stuff. You refer to microculture. There's also that micro stuff within us that must come out, that might become the mustard seed that becomes a blessing to many other people in 2024. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. And if you're getting something from this session, I would like you to just say thank you at intervals in the comments. I'm speaking to those outside the studio right now. And I'm going to turn over. I want to give Patrick the honor to also speak before I come back to Nana Serwaa, because I know that she's one of the house and she will really, really shake everything, right? So anyway, those who've been watching, you know what I mean. So So I'm going to give Patrick the floor to answer those three pivotal questions. Number one, what has 2023 been like? Number two, what do you think 2024 will be like? And what advice do you have for us? So please, you can go ahead and unmute, and this is you have the floor. What has 2023 been like for you? And Patrick is speaking from Nigeria, so he has a lot of news. 2023 has been an interesting year. Then what does 2024 look like for you? And what advice would you give to emerging entrepreneurs among our audience today? Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Once again, it's a great pleasure to be among us Africans, to really start talking to ourselves and to start making meanings to our fundamentals and our experiences. 2023 has been fundamentally a foundational year. We moved into our mining operation, started with creating access road to the site, with the numbers of culvert constructed, which basically, if you tell somebody that you have to do capital project to get into a mining operation for a local player, it can sound very daunting, very, very disheartening, but it's something that must be done. So we did that, and we are doing it under a weather condition during the rainy season, because we started doing that from month of May. So we got into the site and then start proper drilling, because we can't do mining without exploration. And that's why most Africans don't really get a lot of value from their operations, because we intend to operate from a small scale mindset. And with that small scale mindset, you can't really have scale. And if you don't have scale, you can't make money. You can't transform your environment. So we went to really deep dive into drilling, did a couple of drilling, did geochemical analysis, and start getting into reserve estimation, which is really where the game gets very interesting. So I'm happy to say that from thinking that we have maybe 6 or 7 different elements, from that geochemical analysis, we discovered we have over 61 different elements. 61 different elements, ranging from base metal, precious metal, transitional mineral, critical mineral, to lithium. Everything was there, right? So this is the type of value that Africans have been losing, because when you don't do this type of geochemical analysis, you won't really know what you have. You probably will see lead, but it's not lead. It's lead plus so many other things. What are those things? You don't know. So you are going to monetize what you know. And we can't be throwing money, giving out money to people that already have about. So information is key. So this year, we spend this year in making those foundations and then opening it up to show that it's actually a world-class mine, world-class quality. So it's looking very good. And we are going to take that into 2024. But we didn't stop on mining, because very few people can eat mineral. All of us will eat food. So we realized that there's a disconnect between Africans not understanding that we need to farm. We need to go to the farm. We need to go and dirty our hands in the afternoon, and then put on our tuxedo in the evening. If we don't do this, we will continue to think that Africa is not a livable place. Meanwhile, we have paradise, and we are exchanging paradise for what? Right now, if you look into the streets of Dubai or Dublin, they started looking for blacks to kill. So it has gotten this bad. Meanwhile, we have paradise that we're neglecting. So I said it's important that we change our mindset, start purging ourselves of this seemingly inferiority complex, and get on into the critical game of creating value, expanding those values, making sure that more people come into the ecosystem, and understand that it's really not as difficult as we think it is. So we are going to take both mining and agriculture into 2024. I see 2024, forget all the noise about the economic downturn, this, that. Economy is not going nowhere. Economy is all of us. Economy is about our psychology. It's about our confidence. It's about us telling ourselves nothing will happen and just go out there and work. And when you do work, remember the man beside. Information, knowledge, training, making sure that somebody knows how things are done. Because when they don't know how things are done, they speculate and they think it's about money. It's not really about money. But there are some couple of things that we are not doing well that we must start doing it properly. I was in Egypt under IAFT, the trade fair that happened in Egypt. You know, it was shockingly unbelievable that I was only able to get into Egypt because I have a dual nationality. Most Nigerians that apply for visa couldn't get a visa. They could not, these are prime businessmen. They couldn't get a visa. For what reason? So it's shocking that Africa can be so unbelievably banal in our thinking, right? If you come to the stage, you see that a lot of Africans, a lot of Nigerians couldn't attend to the show because they were outrightly refused visa. And that is something that we must change. We must tear down all those barriers because they shouldn't be there, right? And an Egyptian walked up to our stand and looked at the quality of our products and was really curious. He asked me, "This product, are they from where?" I said, "You can see that I'm in Nigerian pavilion. Every business is here. Their products are from Nigeria." He said, "Are you saying that this mineral is from Nigeria?" I say, 1,000,000% they are from Nigeria, right? He said, "So why is it that people in your country are importing this one of the product, Barite, from Egypt? Meanwhile, I know that this quality that I'm seeing here is far superior to my quality." So that is the problem that we're having in Africa, in Nigeria, right? How can we have a system whereby what we use, last mile, what we use in our own local economy is not being sourced from Nigeria? It's artificially being sourced from elsewhere under more higher costs. What exactly is going on? So you see economic banditry. You see all these people thinking that they need to transfer money out of this country without creating value. That is something we must do away with. We must create value where we are. Because if you don't create value where you are suffocating that environment, right? So that's part of what we actually picked up from 2023. It has been a fantastic year. We have done very well. It might not show in Naira and Kobo, in dollars, but foundationally, we have laid the right foundation to be able to do large-scale mining, and we want to really go bullish on our agriculture space. Then 2024, we see more of the same, but on a better scale. We want to go very, very big, and we can actually do big ticket. Advice for Africans or anybody that is listening: just dust off your old coat, dust it off, put iron on it. Nobody would, when you put it on, people might think it's a comfort. They wouldn't even know it's an old coat. Our confidence must increase. We must look at ourselves, believe in ourselves, and then don't care about anybody that is showboating. No, it's not important. What is important is that you are doing something that at the end of the day you can go to bed and sleep well, that you have done your best. And I think if you do that, the world will notice and the world will start respecting us properly.
Absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. Think big. And I think I've heard that 3 times this year. Number 1 was Vusi Tembekwayo. And number 2, it was John Ama of John Ama Ventures in Ghana. And Patrick Odiegwu. I told you before the meaning of Odiegwu. Odiegwu. It is awesome. It's an Igbo word, so it's very deep. In fact, some of our languages, you can't translate it very well into English. Odiegwu, it is awesome. That's the best I can tell you. So he's told us some very awesome things. Big picture thinking, and the confidence. If you have 3 pieces of, my friend, you say 1 is 1. So if you have 1 suit, it says iron it very well, come out with confidence, do your best. Go out there and do your best. Be the best, and make the environment you are in, create value from that environment. We don't have to go anywhere else to create value or to diminish the value that we have. We can create value in our own environments. Thank you so much, Patrick Odiegwu. Thank you so much. So let's switch over. I want to acknowledge Dr. Ronke Babajide. Anybody who has a PhD, I like to call them very clearly that they are doctor.
Thank you, Kenneth. I must say, I'm just dropping in for a couple of minutes because, as I told you, I am.
Yeah, of course.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
All right. So, Nana Serwaa, I wanted to switch over to Nana Serwaa. Will you allow Ronke to take her slot?
I think Doc should take over after she's done. She can.
All right. So,
you.
3 questions, Dr. Babajide. Number 1, what was 2023 like? Number 2, what do you think 2024 will be like? Number 3, what should we get from you? If you like, if you have a poem, you can even recite a poem for us.
Oh, if I had known, I would have written one for you, Kenneth.
All right. Go ahead, ma'am.
Well, what was 2023 like? It was actually different from what I would have expected 2022, but then I switched roles into a new company. I'm now working in a cybersecurity company as a manager for a team of system engineers. So this has been a process, of understanding how to best lead a team and, doing something different as I expected. As you know, I founded this platform to support women the year before, and I thought I would be growing that, but I had to step away from that. So that changed. But on the other hand, I also started focusing more on women and, empowering women. I'm writing more on that topic and taking that angle to uplift women. So 2024 was a successful year on a personal side, and it's been an interesting year to me from a political side, because I feel what we have been seeing in 2023 is a change in the perception of, what we used to perceive as the big powers in the world. I feel especially in the last 2 months, we have seen young people waking up to the imbalances of power that we are seeing in this world and the injustices that have been conducted by these systems. And I have heard a lot of interesting discussions around how this shift in perception is probably going to change the way people will relate to these powers as well. And of course, we have been seeing this for a while, the shift of power towards the BRIC states. We have seen what's happening in Africa with African countries empowering themselves and stepping up and, not trying to shake off, I would say, oppression. So this is my perspective on it. So I found the last months, especially 2023, very interesting on a political side. And I think that we were going to see a lot more of that in 2024, especially if this thing, I don't want to call it a war because it's so imbalanced in the Middle East, keeps going on for a longer while. I think we are going to see some interesting shifts in global politics, let's put it this way. So, and for myself, 2024 will be, for me, it's always about the women. I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of men in this circle as well, but for me, it's very much about empowering women. And this is what I will keep focusing on. Of course, I have a day job, which is working in IT, but yeah, this is what's going to be my year. And I'm going to be watching, these developments happening on the global stage, and of course, supporting what I feel is the correct side of history.
All right.
I'm so happy to see all of you. I just wanted to say that I just dropped in. I told Kenneth beforehand that I had another appointment, but I just wanted to see your faces, say hi, and wish you all the best for the next year as well.
Thank you so much.
See you, Ronke. Thank you.
Great to see you and great to hear from you. All right. When Dr. Ronke started talking about her management role with ITs, I remembered my first management role. I was a supervisor. I had to supervise 9 people, and it was the most incredible experience in my life. I think I did it for 6 months. Then I applied to become I decided, that's when I made up some of my, perceptions. I said that it's easier to work with machines than with people. Then I became an application. What happened was, so these 9 people were like, they used to be, that was Airtel. They used to be in the call center. I hope they're not listening. They're not bad people. They're nice people. they they were in the call center, and they were like, they appeared to be disgruntled, you know, with the whole system. And they moved from the call center to the service desk, the IT service desk, and I became the supervisor. So, people have skills in manager manipulation. There's something called manager manipulation, ways in which, oh, I'm sick, I can't come to work today. Or what do you do? What do you say? I mean, get this done. Then, I mean, the stretch it and arguments here and there, proofs of why they are right and you are, I mean, all this kind of stuff. So generally, it was my first exposure to work with people, and I can tell you, it's a powerful skill when you can keep a team together. If you've grown to the point in your career where you can keep a team together, and I can tell you that we grew to that point. Some of us will know that I had to lead another team later in life. It was a team of 16, and so the skills had now come. So I was in better control. It's part of the growth. So thank you, Ronke, for sharing with us and for that perspective on global politics, which will affect all of us. And we talk about the fact that in strategy, where we play, it's inevitable that the things around you will affect you. So you have to ask yourself, how do I position myself to be an advantage? I want to recognize Patrick and Joseph. Yes, Ronke, thank you so much for being here. Awesome day ahead, and enjoy your outing. Awesome. Yeah, bye. Patrick and Joseph joined us, and we're going to hear powerful things about moving to Germany. Yes. No, I didn't say that. Okay, so if you know anyone who needs to, should I make that promise, Patrick and Joseph? Forgive me. So, tag someone. No, really, you're going to hear some insightful things about what's happening in the German space. But before I come to them, I'll give the floor to Nana Serwaa. I don't know whether I should mention the relationship between Nana Serwaa and Patrick, but let me. All right, so let me give Nana Serwaa the floor to share with us on 3 points. What was 2023 like? What is 2024 going to look like? And what advice do you have for us? Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Kenneth, I would like to be in the crowd with everybody, just like
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, like me, right? Okay, cool. Oh, that's fine. So let me switch over. I know.
All right. So, good evening once again to the audience, and I'd like to say 2023 has been an eye-opening. It has been full of learning, full of turning points, and naturally, there's always going to be the ups and downs, but we always have to look to God. And in as much as would love things to go our way, there's always that God factor, that God purpose. All we have to do is to build ourselves to be open to the purpose God has for us when the time is right. So, what would 2024 be like? For me, I'm positive about 2024. I see 2024 to be a year full of blessings, opportunities, favors, mercies, and personally, I'm ready to grab it. What would I say? I heard Anne speak, I heard Preeti and Shadrack also speak, and I heard Patrick also speak. And a couple of days or weeks ago, during Iwineti, we spoke about taxes. And a couple of days ago, I heard something about Black tax, which I would love to talk about right now. You see, we have a system and a culture in Africa where people are delved into Black tax. But we need to also understand, as people always asking or dependent on others who are successful, there are things we also have to be very wary about. Those giving us, it's not as though they have more than they can afford, they are just being kind. They are just being kind. However, if we have to be financially strong in everything, we need to also close our eyes to certain things. Like the audio I was listening to, 99% of the people that come to us for help are not appreciative of it. They have self-entitlement. And that is one of the problems we have in Africa. Instead of taking responsibilities for our actions, we always blame somebody for it. We blame the devil. We blame the people next to us. It's not as though we are not intelligent. It's not as though we are not smart. We are smart. We are intelligent, but we are always looking for someone to blame. But the one thing I personally have realized in life is that when you take responsibilities for your actions, things works out for you, because you end up to relearn and unlearn. You right the wrongs, you make right to the mistakes you've made, you reevaluate yourself. So looking at it from this black tax perspective, if we have to be dependent on people, we don't see our value as people. I live here in Germany. There is a social system, but it's a system I personally don't love. Why? Because I believe that when you're dependent on somebody, they control you. And personally, I don't love people controlling me. So I never want to be in a situation where I would have to rely on that system. Yes, the system is there to help others, but people take advantage of it. It's something like the black tax. You get it? So human beings, as our audience are mostly Africans, my advice is we should walk away from being dependent on people. We should be ready to take the risk. When we are wrong, we come back to the drawing board, reassess ourselves, and make the move again. Some way, somehow, things will work out. As long as we have the Father there watching over us, He always has a plan for us. We shouldn't be dependent on people, because those people we are dependent on also have immediate families they need to take care of. If I have 100 Ghana and I have to give it to family, how do I pay my rent? How do I pay other things? We need to change our ideologies. I want us as Africans go into 2024 with renewed mind, unlearn certain things. We can be like the Europes, we can be like the Dubais, we can be like any other places, but we need to change our mindsets. That's all the advice I have. Thank you.
That's so powerful. Absolutely awesome. Black tax. That's our second quiz. We had an earlier quiz. What does Iwineti mean? And somebody actually got it right, but the person has a very secure LinkedIn profile, so I couldn't see the name. So you may want to come into my inbox and tell me I'm the one that answered that question, so that we give you the prize. So the next question: what is black tax? Please, no one in the audience should say the meaning. Explain it in your own words in the chat. What is black tax? Do well to explain it. Okay, I found the owner of the account. All right. All right, I found the owner of the account. She's not qualified for this prize. Well, that's fine. You get the prize. So generally, there's another quiz. What is black tax? Please tell us in the chat. And it's so powerful. And I want to tell you that black tax is not only the reality in white countries. Even in black countries like Ghana, we have black tax. Like, if you just move out of your village, the taxation starts coming. I don't think, the way Anne is looking, I don't think she's heard that expression before. But we won't tell her yet. We'll tell her after, when we are done. We'll tell her when we are done, so that the audience can have the opportunity to answer. All right. So I want to acknowledge the presence of Godswill Iwenofu, and he is a powerful data engineer. He's going to also speak to us today. But we're going to take a breather. Remember Anne's advice. We've been to a lot. Maybe we'll come back. We'll come and learn about Germany. Joseph and Patrick, along with other things. It's not just them that we're going to talk about. Forgive me. But let's play 2 short videos from the past, just to remind us, of where we started, so to speak. All right, so we're back. Who remembers that experience? What was that? Who remembers? Who remembers that? Some of us have not seen it before. You see, the beautiful thing about the internet is that it doesn't forget. So it's possible that Shadrack, for example, has changed his mind on some of the things he said in that. But the internet is not forgetting. It's also possible that Reina has changed his mind. But I want to assure you that whose audio is muted? Am I good? Okay, am I good, right? Oh my goodness, the audio of the video was muted. Oh, sorry.
Yes, exactly.
We have to play it again. Sorry, we have to play it again. We have to play it again.
We do.
Yes. Reina? All right.
Okay, thank you very much. Right? I will do it shortly. What I see is that the whole rules in the world economy is done by Europeans and United States. And when you see in history, why is become America so strong? It was a very easy
West or Africa versus China. There's also the topic, the underlying topic of women in business, of youth in business. That is also a global dynamic, not just Africa. When we permit women to be in business, do we impose a pink tax on them? Do we expect them to explain themselves 5 times more than men? So those are the power imbalances. Those are the power centers in the boardroom.
Your mind when you think of Angola. I grew up with Angola in war. I grew up with Angola suffering. The answers I got from them, potential, Angola can achieve her dreams. I stood there and I thought, my God, they haven't been contaminated. Exactly like Shadrack saying, they have a completely new mentality about Angola.
All right, so we just stop it there for the time. Like I said, the internet doesn't forget. So our YouTube channel has a record of everything you said 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And if you change your mind, please let us know. Maybe we need to clip a little bit. but generally, it's there. So Iwineti Africa YouTube channel. Those of you watching from the audience, you can visit, subscribe, and look at what we've done before. I'll play one more, then we'll come back just for a minute. This one is really cool, and just get ready to see. This was our first interview, like I said, in the new era, and it features, drum roll.
Unless you have a way to feed their families, you can't tell us about your drama and bureaucracy and everything. So we're gonna have the market. In any supply chain, the most powerful person is the one what I know is we want enough information to prove the quality of and the authenticity of the product itself. And
all right, so we're gonna start by getting to know you a little more. So if you could just go ahead and tell us about your background a little, professional background, your business, how you started it, and a little about yourself.
You will receive that certificate that says this is a certificate that confirms an authenticity of this product that you have purchased.
All right, so you notice that the sound of that video was very loud. You notice that my background was also very hazy. You also notice that my clothing was not as, so we've grown, right? We've grown, we've evolved. All right. So we're moving forward. We've grown since then. So we appreciate that. So if you're in the audience, visit Iwineti Africa on YouTube and see the history of what the conversation. We've talked about almost everything here, about China, about employment, about education, about Japa. And today we're going to talk a bit about Japa again.
Can I just quickly say something? Oh, it's echoing. Can you hear the echo? Oh, okay.
I can hear. Sorry.
You know, the beauty of looking back at what we've said is we see how we've evolved.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I would hope that none of us say things that go against our integrity and our values. But even there, I think so. I would just say, you know, and pretty. Oh my God, you look so cute and young and amazing, and I love you. Okay, I just had to say that.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, so it's good memories. I'll play a few more, but I want to give Joseph and Patrick. Let me start from Patrick, the opportunity to answer the 3 questions of today and to share their thoughts with us. So, Mr. Patrick Yao Kulo. I like the Yao. The Yao means Thursday born in Ghana, by the way. I just want to let you know I know the culture, you know. Thank you. I take a bow. So go ahead, sir.
Please, I would like to see everyone too.
Yeah, I know everybody wants to see everyone now. All right, go ahead.
Hi everyone. I'm Patrick Yao Kulo. I'm from Ghana. I'm a Ghanaian. I'd like to say hello to Annie, Pretty, and Shadrack, Joseph, and that's Serwaa, who is just no, I'm just in my home office space right now, just trying to catch up with 1 or 2 things. I don't have much to say, but I would say 2023 has been more of learning and upgrading myself. I mean, the industry that we find ourselves, we have to always learn and then upgrade because there are new technologies that are coming up, you know. And this year, the introduction of the Chat GTP platform has opened doors to unlimited stuff that you can do. You know, it makes our work a little bit easier. I mean, gone are the days that you have to comb through Google, comb through textbooks and stuff just to find solution to something. You can simply just ask the AI or an AI tool, and then you can just get a solution to it, and then I mean you're done. Going forward next year, I see things going a bit the same way, but a bit faster. You know, now that COVID is out of the way, and I mean businesses are growing. I mean things are starting to show positive signs. You know, so in terms of technology, actually, not in terms of the other aspect, because I'm more of the technology inclined, so I'll speak more on that bit. So I expect that there'll be a lot more in 2024. I mean, a lot more new technology, a lot more new things, a lot more innovations from Google, from Apple. I mean, from these big tech companies. You know, so I mean, basically, that's it. That's it for me.
Awesome. I hope you have started coding with Copilot.
Not
Almost. Good. All right. So that was a code between me and coding with Copilot. It's code between me and Patrick. He knows what I'm talking about. The rest of you would let you in on it later. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing. Yes, a lot of stuff is evolving, and the truth is that it's almost scary on the one hand, but it's a lot of opportunities on the other hand. Recently, I had to go back to AWS, and I met Amazon Q for the first time. When I was doing hands-on with AWS, we didn't have Amazon Q. Amazon Q is Amazon AWS's chatbot that you can ask, how do I do this? And it's going to tell you exactly what to do to build your cloud. And everybody's coming out with their own version. Amazon Q, Copilot, ChatGPT was the king before, right? I think there's Grok with Elon Musk, is called Grok, right? And so forth. So they're all coming up with generative AI chat enabled interfaces that allow you to basically come in a conversational manner, get things done with incredible levels of intelligence. And the last time we were having one of our simple technology for small business sessions, and I was sharing on it was basically about social media, writing copies, what we call copies. And I demonstrated using ChatGPT that you could write a word article. That is now old, really, but that was about a few months ago. You could tell it, give me a 500-word article on XXX, and you will get it. Of course, you have to check it very well for something known as hallucination. The fact that the guy can generate information that doesn't exist anywhere. So it's that smart, really. Very creative. It's like talking to a child. The child tells you, yesterday I was on the moon, those kind of things. It's the same thing, really. So it's interesting, and we look forward to what really would happen in the coming years, how it will shape us. And I think, like every technology, when computers came in, forgive me, we're going into this tangent. When computers came in, all the people who could type on typewriters, I'm sure they were doing, protests and all that. But after the transition period, you discover that you're creating more opportunities than you're destroying. The only thing is that people have the learning gap to catch up to. So that's probably every time there's a leap, that's what typically would happen. So thank you for this lecture. It's only $1,000. Let me switch over to Joseph. Joseph, yeah, and Ijoma Ukando, PhD candidate, just joined us. Welcome. I'll let you speak soon. But Joseph, you have the floor. I'll show you a bit first. Don't worry, I'll come back to the crowd view. But I'd like to see your face.
Yeah.
3 questions.
Yeah, actually, a very interesting conversation on the co-pilot bit, but I'll chip in on that later. I've been using it, and it's the few times I started using it, it just blew my mind. It was
intimidating.
The AI was doing my work for me. All I had to do was have my know-how, and you just type, and it suggests and gives you a better suggestion than what even you thought you were going to write. And I was like, wow. And that's the dimension we are going towards the future. So it's just that you just have to know your know-how, and the AI continues. But that's just by the way. We'll delve into that discussion later. I'm Joseph. I'm a software developer based here in Germany. I'm a Ghanaian. I moved from Ghana in January 2020, just before the COVID. So I was quite lucky. I had a job here in Germany, and I migrated. Yeah, and 2023, I would say has been a revealing year. A lot of learnings, both in my life, professionally and domestically. I had a new addition to my family, a daughter here in Germany. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the distinct. But then, career wise, I made a switch. I made a switch to like a new team to learn new things, a new language, new technologies, and all that to grow in that bit. Most of the things that caught my attention were more like the political stuff, like Dr. I've forgotten him. The doctor spoke about.
Dr. Ronke Babajide.
Barite spoke about, and also the issue, the topic about people migrating to Europe for work and all that, because I moved here not because of economic reasons, it was more professional to learn new things. But as I'm here, I get a lot of calls from Ghana and all that, like, how do I move here? And from time to time, it's like a lot, right? So I keep asking my colleagues back in Ghana, what's really happening? Why do you all want to move? Right? Yeah. And listening to, I think, Mr. Patrick, the entrepreneur, really, I hear things that are really going on in Africa and all that. But what I say is currently the youth in Africa doesn't see and have that conviction like he has, right? In 2020, before I moved, it wasn't this. There were not a lot of people just trying to move out, but now it's quite rampant. I keep asking myself, oh, what's happening? What really happened? What's really happening, right? And I think these are thoughts through 2023, like what's really happening that's letting this economic, and most of them are moving not because of professional reasons, more like economic reasons, right? And so now it was actually in 2023 ahead of the term Japa. Truth to be told, I was like, so this has been then one a Nigerian friend told me it's a Nigerian weather has been there, and I was like, wow, and I'm here, and this is a sign that it has become rampant now. Even people that don't know have now gotten, and now it has become even a household name, even in Ghana. Right? Yeah. So these are some of the highlights, like from, and in relation to Japa, I remember when I came to Germany and I met Patrick. Patrick has been here for a while, has settled in, and even doesn't have the conviction to go back to Ghana. Right? For me, I've stayed in Ghana all my life. I had the opportunity to work with an NGO for like 5 years and had the opportunity to travel around the country. Right? I saw the kind of wealth Ghana has. Gold farms, cocoa farms. I worked in cocoa projects, farming, some the project that blended our gold and natural resources, and I know the stuff that Ghana has. Right. So I'm like, at a point in time, I'll go back and all that. And I remember Patrick telling me that, okay, you wait till you have children. Now I have a daughter, and when I look at the systems here for my daughter, right, we are going for appointments and all that. The more I integrate into the system, right, the more it makes me difficult to go back to Ghana. Right. Then, so these are some of the questions that. So why is it this way? Right. Yeah. So these are some of the thoughts for me in 2023, and so but what I'm also seeing for 2024 is Japa will still continue, because the same economic factors that are making the youth move from Africa are still there. And it seems, and I keep asking myself, what are we doing about it? But I think I was listening to Mr. Patrick, and it was very revealing. So I was like, whoa, there are things going on, but these things seem not to be in the limelight. I don't know if I'll borrow the words of Mr. Shadrack. I don't know if our entrepreneurs are a bit mute, or they are not speaking louder. For the youth, that's enough to realize that, oh, there are opportunities here. But it seems the opportunities in Africa are not being shown and brought forward more, but all we see is our economic crisis, and it's like we don't have a typical example is just 3 months ago, a friend of mine who was working for a German company in Ghana, so he was being paid in euros back in Ghana, right? And the company gave him an option to move here. Why he moved here was he wanted like better education for the children and all that, which is cool. Now he moves to Germany and realizes that he was making more money back in Ghana than being here. He's given the same pay, but when he got here, he realizes like the pay comes and like 48% is gone because his wife and children are not here. In Germany, they have a tax system and he's on the very expensive one. 48% is gone. And he comes and was like, whoo, now. And he's like, why are they moving? Now, a few days, I think he had been here just 2 months, just a month, that he got his first pay, and he realized that now after a month of staying, he was like, okay, they take a lot of money, but here's better, right? And and it goes like, even looking at it, here will be better for his daughter. He didn't have in mind to like go and bring the wife and children here. Yet he just came to just try the system, and now he's thinking of bringing them here. And still the question boils down to why, right? He was getting more money in Ghana, right? But would like the wife and daughter to move here, right? And going into 2024, these are some of the thoughts also, like, rather, how do we mitigate this? But this will still go on, right? Yeah. So this is my submission.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Pause and reflect.
Yeah.
Because what you've said is also one of those heavy thoughts about the whole big picture. And I'm coming to you very shortly, because it's like, I know that I want to be comfortable. I want to be comfortable. I want my children to be comfortable. Then we ask ourselves, how is it going to play out when the majority of people take the decision, says, I must be comfortable at all costs, and I can't be comfortable where I am, so I have to move. And some countries now begin to repel you, because no matter how nice you are, the owners of the land begin to, you guys are too many here. That thought begins to come up. There must be exchange of people moving across boundaries. It's inevitable. But when it becomes an excess, and due to things that can be addressed, like you mentioned, basic amenities. I mean, somebody is earning more money in his homeland, he has access to his extended family, but something as simple as the access he has to health, the access he has to good education will make him think, look, I want a better life for my children, so I better just move. So those basic stuff that can actually create a more balanced world. And that's the beef between, remember the beef joke between Meloni and Macron. I'm sure you've seen that video. It's on our channel as well. That's the beef for me. If you create an environment where people are comfortable, they will need to come here. Basic. But like we used to say, most of the problems of Africa are not problems of competency or capacity or investment. They are problems of intent. Do I want, as a government, as a leader of my nation, as a president, do I want, as an elite who has a bullion van, I will not say more than that, do I want my country to be better for everybody, or do I want it to be good enough for me? Right? So those are the questions that leadership has to respond to and say, do I really want everybody to be okay? Because the truth is, when you answer that question, the science, the inventions, the economic systems, what it takes to move a country from here to here, they are known. If you don't know them, you know who to ask. So before we get too serious on this call, let me open the floor to Anne. And go ahead and respond, and I'll come to the answer. I also raised that hand.
No, I'll have to speak to you as the daughter of migrants who went from South India to Malaysia in the 50s, 60s, when India, I don't know if any of you, I don't think you can, all of you are so young, but India was one of those countries, just like Africa, when you had a starving child, it was an Indian child in our newspapers with the distended belly and the thing. I mean, India was nowhere when I was a child. So, South India was doing much better. So I'm speaking now as the child of those who were immigrants, who now has spent 30 years in Switzerland. And what has happened, I just a brief thought. India, and I know Africa is a different situation from India. India is ultimately one nation, and Africa is a whole number of nations. But there is a way of looking at India where they are so different from each other, whether you realize it or not. from state to state. So in that way, I'd like to just draw a similarity. India has moved from that time when my mother's generation, my cousins who are in their 60s and 70s, everyone left the nation. Africa was one of the places that South Keralites went to. Uganda, Tanzania. I mean, they were teachers, they were civil servants. You know, Keralites were there, and they made money and went back to India. But then it got to a point where their children said, no, 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 we all want to go somewhere else for the same reasons you're saying, education, health. So then there was this entire shift to Canada and America, some to England, although they hated the British. So actually they didn't, it wasn't very popular. So America, Canada, Australia. But something has shifted in India. India, the government suddenly was like, dang bang, we got to do something about our people and our economy. And they have now shifted to the point where now my nephew went to America for a job for 6 months and then went back to India. And I was like, don't you want to stay? He was like, man, I hate America, man. Yeah, I want to go back home. I want to be with my people. And I was like, wow, that shift has taken place. So I'm, the things that you're talking about, I'd like to believe that, as Africa, that, that governmental responsibility that I think Nana wants to speak about, I believe you can do it. I believe you can actually create an environment within Africa. It may not happen now but let me tell you something that I didn't think about when I got married to the Swiss and came to think. I didn't realize the treasure that my parents and extended family were. And man, I missed them like crazy when I had my children. And seeing your parents once a year, because we couldn't afford it. And, now it's different, guys. You guys have WhatsApp and whatever. But, please consider that your community and your extended family is also a resource and a treasure to you that nurtures who you are. And that picking up and coming to Germany where you are connected only like this, and your children are growing up not seeing themselves on the streets, is something to think about. But I believe Africa can do it. I believe this is the generation that we are going to look at that creates an environment where your young people will say, bring the work here. People are taking work to Bangalore. Huh? They are staying in India now, and Americans are coming and they're all going to India to do all that skilled work. So I think Africa should do it too.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. As much as we have economic considerations, there is a whole breadth of stuff to think about, which we have to think about as a people, not just as individuals. And it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge for all of us. Nana Serwaa, you have some thoughts?
Okay, so Kenneth, you mentioned if our leaders are going to make a change.
Intent.
And my thought here is the conquer is in the head and hearts of our leaders. They only think about themselves and their family. So currently what it looks like is everyone is also looking out for themselves and their family. That is why there is that drastic change and swift movements of Japa movements going on and on. We have the resources, we have the manpower, because if you look at the gender ratio from world economic whatever, Africa has the highest youngest age age gap as compared to the West. However, the West is making things quite easy, which I'm sure Patrick is going to speak about the new things that are coming in Germany now. It looks very lucrative. It's very attractive. Everybody wants to give the best for their children. When I started school, I went to a private school. Then it was termed the A-list schools. I'm sure, Kenneth, you know St. Martin de Porres. Now, it takes a lot to even afford educational system is currently very crazy in Ghana. If you want to give your children the best, you have to spend even more, all in the name of politics. Somebody wants to politicize everything. So the conquer is within the hearts of the leaders. It would take what do you call it, a selfless leader, which is yet to be born, or who is yet to be born, who is born but yet to be elected, to be able to make that paradigm shift. We need that shift. Without that shift, unfortunately, we'll continue to lose the manpower that Africa has. The best is still migrating because they all want the best for their children. And like David said, everybody would think about their children first. My daughter attends a public school. She's in class 1. That amenities is a private school in Ghana. And even much more. We entered the school and we were shocked what they have in there. And it is a public school. However, when you enter a public school in Ghana, it's a different ballgame altogether. So we need leaders who can make the change, who can make that paradigm shift, who can make, what do you call it? When they mention, currently when you are an African, there is still a question mark. Are you capable? You always have to prove yourself. You always have to prove yourself. But we have the capabilities, we have the integrity, we have the knowledge. But because of politics, the narration has to change. But the narration can't just change. It needs great leadership. These are things that we need to look out for. If not, Africa is going to continually lose its people, its youthfulness, because everybody is looking out for themselves. And the kind of people coming now to Deutschland, to before it was people who were taking up menial jobs, but those coming now are professionals. And Africa is losing that. Ghana is losing that. I'll let Patrick speak about the migration, whatever regulations currently coming up for, what do you call it, coming up. Thank you.
Patrick?
Yeah, just to add to what Nana Serwaa was saying, like right now it's scary. The kind of people who are migrating from Africa to Europe, it's like the brain drain, like the best of the best, the doctors, the nurses, the engineers. How I came to Europe. I came to Europe as a student, and what I've studied in Europe, I mean, if I take it back home, it's not useful. I might even struggle to even get things done. But here it's easy. The opportunities are already here, and like companies. If I open my LinkedIn inbox to you every single day, like people are just writing. You don't have a job. People are still writing me and giving me crazy offers. David can also attest to that. And and it's sad. It's actually sad that like we come here and we work with this. We work with Europeans. We work with people that we think they are the pace setters, or they people we are looking up to, and realize that we are even better. Like the developers in Africa are so good, and the young guys in Africa, they are so good in developing, and there's no opportunity for them, and that's the reason why this Japa issue has become a big deal, because um the leaders, like, you have a lot of young people in Africa, a lot of young people who are willing to do stuff, who are very smart, who are very innovative, but they are not finding use for their what was the word? They are not finding use
Talent.
for their what they have to do. They are not finding use for it, and that's why a lot of them are leaving. And as Nana Serwaa said too, it's also a problem with leadership, because if you are if we are in Africa and you find politicians flying their children to Europe to school to do stuff there, and even when they are sick, they even fly out of Africa. When you have a big hospital, you have a general hospital, you have like you claim is the best facility in the whole of West Africa, the whole of Africa, but you still don't trust the doctors there, but you have to fly out to take care of yourself. Then what are you telling the youth? What are you telling the young ones behind, you know? And as Annie said, like in time back, like Indians were leaving and right now they are returning, or they've returned back home and then they build a country. But now I can't even say that for my mom. My mom has been in Germany for over 20 years now. And when she goes back home, she doesn't feel comfortable to be in Ghana. At first, it was okay. Like a burger will go back home. Like the mindset was that you come here, you work, you build your house, you establish a business, and you do that. When you're tired, you just go back home and then you relax and then you retire there. But it's changed now. Even the old people are not even willing to even move back home, you know, to help out. And it's serious. It's crazy. And and right now, the reason why they're even making it easier for people to migrate from Africa to come here is because they've short of skilled workers, they're short of workers. And the system here is built on taxes. If people are not paying taxes, the system is not going to work. So when you come here, you work, you are taxed high to build the system here. But in any ways, if I'm being taxed well, or if I'm being taxed high, and I'm still able to save money and I'm still able to take care of my family, I would rather prefer that situation than rather be in Africa and my potentials will not be useful in any way, you know. And that's the thing. I mean, it's sad. It's actually sad. Like when I as David said, I also have a lot of friends who always ask me, my guy, how am I going to move out of Africa? How am I going to move out of Africa? I say, but you work in this big company. What's going on? I say, yes, my salary is big. I can even quote the salary to you, but then at the end of the month, I'm not able to save anything. And I have had a personal experience like that. When I was in Africa, I used to take a lot. My pay was very good, but I wasn't able to save anything. You know, but even here that I'm being taxed highly, I'm still able to save something at the end of the month. And at the end of the year, I'm able to save a lot, you know, because even though you are being taxed, when I go to a grocery shop, I buy this for the month, I buy my tickets, I pay this and that, and then that's it. You're able to plan your life in a way that fits you. And like the system here fits for everybody. Like if you go to the shop, you have the different price list of stuff. You can buy what you can afford, you know. But I can't say the same thing for Ghana. Maybe I go to Accra Mall. It looks like Accra Mall is like for some specific kind of people who can go there and shop from there, you know. But here it's not like that, you know. It's not like that. This situation, I don't know. I like it's something that it 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 feels like we are complaining too much as a youth, and we are not bringing out solutions. But I feel like if the older people can even give us the opportunity to prove it, I mean, we will be able to do something. Because the university that I went to in Italy, the ministers are very close to the university. So when they want to implement something like technology or something, they give it to a university for the university to try it out, to test it and to see if it's okay before they implement it. But in Ghana, or I can speak for Ghana, it's like it's a different thing. Like the University of Ghana or University of Science and Technology have so many things that they've developed there, but the government is not using it. Everybody comes in, they use what they think is okay, what's a new trend, and then that's it. You know, but then the right thing is that you have to make use of the universities, the students there. They have so many ideas. I mean, so many things that they are doing there that we can just start from there and then just build on it. And right now India is like the tech hub of the world. And how did they do it? Because they had belief in the young ones, they had belief in the universities and stuff. And those who even studied in America took all the plans or took all the ideas, the thing that they learned in America, and they took it back home and they established companies there. And then right now the tech companies are going there. Right now here Apple is even manufacturing iPhones from India, and I wish African leaders would just pick this thing up, because this is not something new. It's there. The structure is already there. You can just pick it and just follow it. But
Yeah.
nobody's.
I told you at the beginning that we're very serious about not being serious in this call. So let me say the next joke. Why did the chicken cross the road? Okay, you know that one. Yes. I'll try another one later. So Patrick, really, you're touching on the issues. Consultative servant leadership, right? I mean, just show me you are interested, in my opinion. Just show me you are interested in moving things forward. You don't have to know it. You don't have to know the answers. Just give me the opportunity to make my contribution, give somebody else the opportunity to make their contribution, and create a better society. There's so much you've said. Thank you so much. And it's all about building a society that works for everyone, not just for a few people. And it's not, I don't think, maybe I'm too idealistic. It's not rocket science, really, right? That's what we're saying. So Godswill has been waiting for a long time. He's also in South Africa, a powerful data specialist. In fact, if he had spoken after Joseph has spoken, we will have turned this session into an IT conversation. But let me, and I would like to acknowledge Sir James Zantos from Canada, Samuel Nto from Deutschland, and Yao Frimpong from Ghana. Thank you for joining us online. So Godswill, let me give you the floor. Go ahead.
All right, thank you so much, Kenneth. Thank you everyone for being on the call. First of all, I'm afraid you guys can't see me today. We have load shed in Johannesburg. It's one of the issues we're dealing with in SA. So, Kenneth, if you don't mind, just 1 minute, may you please, let me give the context. May you please repeat the question we're tackling? So, from what I understand, so you can
okay,
separate.
so there are 3 questions. The first one
Yes.
is, what was 2023 like for you?
Okay.
Personally, your outlook. And the second one was, what do you think 2024 will be like personally in your context, what you do? And of course, you tell us in context of what you do. What also want to know what you do. And then thirdly, what advice would you give to the audience, young entrepreneurs out there, young career people out there who are watching? Go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you. Do I have a time limit? Because I have a lot to say.
Okay, we'll give you 7 minutes. That's 2 extra minutes. Go ahead. But just go ahead. Feel free. Yeah.
All right. I'll make do with that. First of all, before I even go to the questions, I just want to tackle the 2 questions. I mean, the 2 topics we're already dealing with here. And I think we're not doing justice to these questions. To these topics. Firstly, Black Text, and secondly, African leadership and progress. So, Black Text, there is a bad connotation with Black Text. And recently, we had a study with it, a couple of my friends. So in university, I did PPE, politics, philosophy, and economics. This is one of the areas that I found interesting. As a Nigerian from origin, living in SA, brought up in SA, every single thing, coming from family, growing up, the way we've lived life, the way we've built wealth, etc., is due to what people would label as Black Text. And I've had a conversation with a thought leader in SA here, and he's tried to differentiate it to say, okay, Black Text is when you are actually helping out your family members or extending their family, but there's no returns coming out of it. They're just milking you. So every single month they call you, oh, we don't have house rent, or you send house rent money. Next month they'll call you, oh, school fees. So, okay, school fees is different, but just, spending and there is no return, there is no benefit. But if you're spending things like helping your brother start a business, sending your cousin to go study in the States or in Canada, there's a recent cousin of mine, the whole family funded. She's doing her bachelor's at the University of Toronto, funded by the family. All of those become strange benefits or French benefits. And this is how most of the communities we admire, whether it's the Jewish community, whether it's the Indian community, whether it's the whole Oriental community or the Chinese community, this is how they build wealth. This is how they develop themselves, right? Before even their state started developing. 2 months ago, I was reading No Room for Small Dreams, how the story of Israel came to be. If you see the way they built themselves, this is how it was done for generations. And that is why if you look at Jewish today, wherever they're in the world, they thrive. There's money in that society, and then they have their own system of finance, right? But for that to be done effectively, we have to also put in some systems of discipline, right? So if I loan money to you and you don't pay it back or something like that, there's a form of discipline that needs to be put in place. And I think that's the conversation we have to be having, to say, how do we make sure that what we call black tax is better or effectively managed? Not the issues with it or coming up with the problem. Everything has issues. But as human beings, I believe all of us here, we are leaders, we're innovators in our own rights. So when we're sitting down to think about such things, these are things that, talking from a cultural perspective, are in us. It's not just an African thing. It's a it's a humanity thing. Wherever you go, you find families helping out each other. You find people, helping you with money for business, for school fees. You find all of this stuff, right? But how do we effectively factor this into our society and be able to use it to thrive? For example, I'm Igbo. The Igbo apprenticeship system, Igbo boy, that is something that was developed traditionally. We didn't go to Harvard to go and learn it. We just went and said, okay, my guy, we are poor. Let's tell ourselves the truth. We are poor. But there is one of your uncle who is an engineer there. How do we transfer that skill to the next generation so we expand ourselves and then we expand the money coming into our community? There was that conversation after the Biafra war. And that is why the Igbo tribe is where it is today. And that's the conversation I think we should be having, not just listening and ridiculing the system. We can do that the whole day, but let's be innovative on that aspect, right? Leaders in power. So doing politics and being in politics a bit, I've gotten me to understand the political landscape in South Africa and in Africa in the broad sense. The African landscape, if you're a politician in Africa, you understand why they're corrupt. Or if you're close to them, you understand. I'll give you a typical example. I think it was 2 years ago, 2021, that the Africa Report wrote an article about a Malawi minister. It was former minister of disability, went into the parliament and shot himself, a retired minister. And why did he do that? Because he was being made to beg for things that he already had the right to beg for a state car. I mean, this was your former minister of youth, disability, etc., to beg for his pensions. Life after power in Africa, if you don't have money, it's very wicked. No one wants to see, no one wants to listen to you. Your money is real. And if you see how much sacrifices these guys make to get into that seat, there is 1,000 people gunning to be number one. It's not only you, right? And there's a reason why I'm saying this. I'll come to that later. If you, also in that article, if you read about the finances it takes to get into politics, in essay, Ramaphosa used, I don't know, Preacher and Shadrack may remember, but I think it was around 5 billion or so for CR17. That was just to win a primary within a party. Now imagine how much is being spent within a national election. And this is in one of the most politically developed countries in Africa. Now imagine in a country like Nigeria. Imagine a country like DRC. That's the things we are not seeing, right? That there's corruption means that systems are not working or the processes are not working. And we have to properly, the first step to solving any problem is to identify the problem, right? So, firstly, there is shortage of financial assistance to those who want to get into power. So if you want to get the big money, it's either you go to the mafias or you find your way to cheat or you go to take a loan. And sometimes people take hefty loans. There is a document that came out. Also, it's a bit Nigerian politics, so the others may not understand it. But one Igbo billionaire, after Iwenofu, was funding the next governor of Anambra State. If you see the crazy list he was giving him, once you're governor, you're going to give me this right, that right, this right, that right. And it was a legal binding contract for him to be able to fund him on his government campaign. Can you imagine that? Now, there are also some politicians who are wealthy. They become godfathers. So if you look in Kenya, it's the Kenyatta family. If you look in South Africa, is the Ramaphosa faction with Mutipe as a family member. If you look in Nigeria, it's Tinubu and so on and so forth. These guys have the financial muscle. If you look in Rwanda, it's Kagame. You can challenge him financially. And then they can put themselves there, they can put wherever they want, they can buy votes, they can rig elections, they can do every single thing. They can even, hire data scientists to go in and find out what you like, what you don't like, and how to campaign etc. And then the smart guy who went to Harvard but only has a degree and ideas cannot get in there because he doesn't have the financial muscles. He doesn't have the system, all of this stuff. Now, how do we solve this? This is my thinking alone. We cannot run away forever. I hear everyone in the panel talking about Japa syndrome, this and what's causing this. We all know that fact. We all know very well. But we have to solve this, right? And if we look back at history, 500, let's say 1,000 to 500 years ago, there was wars in Europe. Europe was raided. There was disease. There was famine. Everything we're experiencing here, they experienced it. And everything Europe is experiencing now, America is experiencing now, we had it in Africa. We had world powers here. That is, if we go back to pre-colonial Africa and so forth and so forth, probably let's go say 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. If you read that far back in history, you see it. We before the Carthage Empire was destroyed, etc. But we are not here for Afro-politics. Let's come back to reality. The Europeans pick themselves up. The Asians pick themselves up. We have to pick ourselves up. And I'll give you a simple scenario. All of us here in this call, let's say we gather ourselves. Let me start with Nigeria. It's a simple idea, may not work effectively, but to make a change. Let's say we gather ourselves. We develop a proper ideology, the way if you read back, the Pan-African Congress did in Manchester in 1945. We develop it, we train people, we get like 1,000 multimillionaires with the financial muscle, with the right idea, with the right ethics. And then you guys go in with a mission to say, my guy, how do we solve this thing? How do we change this country? There is no running away. And that is what some people are doing in the tech space. That is what some people are doing in the agricultural space. That is what some people are doing in their own countries. Yes, we have reasons why we are where we are, whether it's been a settlement state, whether it's been the system we have with politics, etc. But we have to solve it, And if we group ourselves, you bring your skills, I bring my skills, you bring your networks, I bring my networks, etc. We can do something. We can move this thing, And that is the conversation I think we should be having. Yes, it's proper. It's necessary to lay out the problems, but also we have to have a conversation about the solutions, So there is that. Now, okay, I think I'm out of my time. How many minutes do I have left?
I'll give you a 1 minute spare, a 1 minute bonus. For the next minute, I'll charge you.
Oh no! Oh no!
Go ahead, please.
All right. So, given I have a minute left, I will just introduce myself. My name is Godswill. I'm a 22-year-old young entrepreneur. As you heard, I was born and brought up in Nigeria a bit. Migrated into SA when I was 9 years and basically lived here my whole life. Currently, right now, I'm the founder and CEO of Womentoring. Womentoring is a private equity venture capital business development enterprise. So what we do very, very simply is there's a lot of challenges in the African private equity and venture capital market. I myself come from a background of private equity. I worked with Ovi Capital UK for over 19 months to a level where I was business development specialist. And we launched the first Africa-focused blockchain-based private equity fund. And while raising for that, we're planning to raise 100 million through a blockchain, through selling tokens. And we're innovating because we wanted the African middle class to actually be part of private equity returns, which is often, reserved for the rich and wealthy people. We wanted to bring it down to medium class, and more people can contribute. But in playing out that innovation, we learn a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and that is when my opportunity to start 1 minute. It's an opportunity to start One Ventures came through, and now what we do is we do research about the private equity venture capital market, and then we help venture capital and private equity firms be able to optimize their team and operations to meet their targets. We also help startup ecosystem companies be able to optimize when they fundraise for startups, etc. And I'm also a huge interest and optimize about sustainable finance, because I believe there's a lot can be done in SA and in Africa as a whole. So there is, not to say
okay,
not to spend much of your time. There's something.
So this was
so much.
You spent 2023 doing this. What do you see happening in 2024 for you?
Okay, thank you so much for an extra minute.
Yes, an extra 30 seconds.
So from the last from the last time I spoke to you, just to give a general idea, I spoke to you 2 years ago, I believe. And back then I was in data science.
Yeah.
From data science, I moved to private equity. From private equity, now I'm doing a private equity focused research firm. If I'm to be honest with you, I don't fully know what 2024 will hold in store. You may find that something else will come and then you move. But from my plans right now, the one thing I really want to tackle in 2024 is sustainable finance, especially in SA. We have an energy problem, and then we have a huge potential for sustainable finance, huge potential for renewable energy, a huge potential for biogas, bioquality, but there's little finance going to it. But there's a lot of financial products being developed and a lot of policies either in Europe and America, and a lot of money available to channel there. So my main target 2024 is to be able to tap into those networks, tap into those funds, and connect them to projects, in SA and if possible in other regions in Africa. So that's my focus for 2024.
Awesome.
And what advice do I have to the audience? Well, this is something my mentor taught me, and it's worked for me. It's very simple. Dream, believe, act. But most importantly, keep going. Consistency is the key to everything. If you dream, you believe, put a plan, and you act, and you act, and you act again, and you act. It may not end up working the way you plan, but you get something done. And that's the only advice I have for the audience. Thank you so much, Kenneth. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, Godswill. You see, when you hear how young Godswill is, you ask yourself, where was I all these years? What was I doing? What was I doing with my life? Anyway, but Godswill, that's a very brilliant submission. Very brilliant submission, insightful, powerful, and extreme ideas, I must say. For example, I would ask, okay, why do elections have to cost so much in Africa? Why does it have to be a money thing that much? Because it's a cycle. It's a cycle that says I invest in politics and I have to recoup it. And if you have to recoup it, always becomes at the detriment of the people we are called to serve. I was told that in Sweden, was it Sweden or Finland? It's not actually lucrative to being in government offices. And Europe, of course, I mean, this is one of the topics we have to now maybe discuss in detail. I'm just raising some of the questions that we may have to think about. In Europe, did not have as much a reference as we have today. The reason being, like, the communication globally across is much more efficient. So we can see clearly where people are succeeding. In their medieval times, they couldn't see that. They had to bootstrap. Maybe they could see China, I don't know. Maybe they could, but generally they had to bootstrap to come to the level where they are. So now we are here. We can see all around us very easily how advancement is happening. And we can import advancement rather than import finished goods, and so forth. So the point I'm making is that the scenario, the jump we have, I think is narrower for us because we have something we can easily copy. And then I like the fact that you mentioned the Igbo apprenticeship system, and it made me, I'll come to you, Patrick, very shortly. It made me remember this outing.
Pass Ariada all the time I move from Port Harcourt. Pass Ariada all the time I move back. And somebody mentioned about Aba. I'm Aba brought up, home base Aba. So I pass Area all the time. I move from Port Harcourt to my hometown. Aba is my hometown. I'm born, I'm bred in Aba. Osioma is the local government in Aba. So this is my home. Now let me shock you people. How Aba shoe industry can harness the potentials of AFC FTA, that is Africa Free Trade Agreement. He said that Aba itself, which is the area of international market, has the capacity to bring in up to $2.6 trillion. As in this figure.
All right, $2.6 trillion. I mean, there's hope there, and I hope you remember that conversation. So Godswill mentioned that we have an Igbo apprenticeship system that can spur development, that is already spurring development. My dad brought about 12 people from my hometown. He wasn't even a businessman. But it was a culture of, if you're going to grow, you have to bring people along with you, the tribe culture. But the point about black tax is that some people take advantage of it to, how do I put it? To become a parasite, so to speak. So I think that was the conversation that came up. So Anne wants to say something, but let me let Patrick first because he asked to speak.
No, I just two short things to say.
Okay. All right.
I listened to your thing. It's echoing.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And I was like, you know what? I bet you they're talking about brown tax too, because what you're talking about is exactly the same in India. Okay. Yeah. And I've even got Chinese friends who've had, you have a family structure that's strong, you've got the same thing happening. And the second thing I wanted to say, microculture. So I'm listening to you guys. Do you know that Africans laugh in a way that is so uniquely you? It is loud, it is explosive, it is full of joy. I cannot tell you. I listen to you and I'm like soaking it in, man, because, like here, people are like, like, I am just so glad. I mean, like, I'm hearing this, and Godswill was like, bah! I was like, go for it, guys. So Kenneth, that's what I just had to say, those two things.
All right, thank you so much, and that's beautiful. So let's keep laughing. I mean, amidst all the issues, we will overcome with joy, right? Okay, but Patrick, you have the floor.
It's just 1 minute, just to add to what Godswill said. I think there's a solution to Africa's problem in terms of policies, and like the conversation switches to politics now. But like, let me just say this for 1 minute. There's really a solution to it, and the main problem of Africa, most of the African countries, the winner takes all thing. Like they go for election, the person who wins takes everything. They're in charge of everything, and that is the main problem. So there's no checks and balances. Like here in most of the European countries, like the vote, you have the majority, you have the vote, but then you need the smaller parties to add to your coalition, to form a coalition. Like I'm talking about here in Germany, for instance, the main part, the part that won was SPD. They had a lot of votes, but they didn't have the 50%. So then they will need the smaller parties like the Green Party and then the other parties to join so that they can make the majority seats to make decisions. And that's the main problem with Africa, because these smaller parties control, even though they are not financially, they don't have that money or they don't have that financial muscle to move things. You need that 10% or that 15% of their vote to make decisions in your government. And that's the main problem with Africa. Because when parties go for election, the person who gets the majority votes controls everything, doesn't answer to anybody, doesn't answer to anyone. But then if there's a system that allows maybe young people to form a party and they're able to get maybe 10% of the vote, and the major political party needs that 10% to make the 50% or 50 plus 1% to get power, I think that will solve the problem. That will solve the issues of corruption, the issue of us getting money or investing money into politics to sign an agreement and stuff, so that when I come to power, I have to pay that, And that is the main problem with politics. That's the main problem. We have to find a system that can allow smaller parties to also thrive, to also make decisions, to also be on the table and say that no, even though my if you don't agree to what I'm saying, I take my 10% away, and you go for re-election. It's as simple as that, you know. But if we allow these big parties to have all the power, the winner takes all, then I mean we will be doomed forever. And I think that's the one minute thing I just wanted to say. That's a solution
Yes.
that I feel will help Africa to stop this corruption in politics and in the politicians, you know.
All right. All right. So we are getting into another topic, a bigger topic. Remember, we came here to have fun today. So we're still talking about Ghana, but that's insightful. That is basically the point is create a system that works for everyone, create checks and balances. And bottom line, it's been done before. Sorry about that. We don't need to create it from scratch. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to give Joseph and Nana Serwaa to talk to this 30 seconds each so that we wrap up, right? Joseph.
Yeah, so I think to add to what Godswill said, and also to buttress Patrick's point, I think Godswill made a point also about mindset, right? One thing I realized when I came to Europe was their mindset, right? And I studied a bit of their history and also American history, and I realized that at a point in time, their government made a conscious effort to change the mindset of the people, right? To start believing in themselves, start believing. Same, China has done this all this while when everything is China, right? But I realized that the African has been trained the mindset to look outside. I don't know. It stems back from colonization and all that. We always see the Europeans or someone as superior than us, right? So like going forward, also in our education system and all that, I think we also need to have like a renewal of mindset. We have to teach our children. Currently, the kids being trained in Africa are more Europeanized than even Europeans here. I talked to my nieces and nephews back in Ghana. Now they all speak English. They can't speak my local dialect, right? For some weird reason, right? Every parent is teaching their children English. They don't speak Ghanaian dialect. Now, now it's time now. This is where the problem of the mindset comes in. Now, the kid, even 5-6 years, has been Europeanized. So now, how will this kid try to find solutions to things happening in Ghana? They have made up their minds, even already by 10 years, to leave the country. So now the Japa is starting with children, not even grown-ups. Right. So I think that's also something we need to push for. Like and what I've realized, the kids here in Germany are trained to have a German mindset. Most of the countries train their kids to actually have a mindset that the country wants them to. But it seems in Africa, we don't even have a national mindset to even drill it down to our kids and into our educational system. Right. Yeah. So also we have to look at our mentality. And if
Yes.
we start with the kids growing up now, I think it will go a long way to help us.
Great mindset change, and that brings that point of what I think I think of it as starting with what you can do. I know Godswill has a massive vision of $100 million, which is great, which can be done, but some people the scope of impact will be smaller, but it is still relevant. And Joseph has talked about the scope of impact that is even within the family, the kind of mentality that we're creating among the generations. And if we can scale that across board, maybe to make an impact. So, Nana Serwaa, 30 seconds. I'll come back to Pretty and
Okay.
Shadrack.
So
Very
before I
quiet.
go on to my point, Joseph mentioned that the children are being trained by the cultural train set. My little child, my eldest child is 6 years going to 7. And when I asked her, don't do something, which is the African culture to kind of train your child in a way that they are respectful to the society or they respect, that kind of training, she'll go like, ich kann, wenn ich will. I can when I want to. She will just say it straight up. And I go like, you're an African. You need to have a little respect. Then we come back to the board. So yes, they are being told to speak up their mind. That is some of the problems Kevin Prince Boateng had in Ghana, because he grew up in a system where you speak your mind without a bit of reservation. You get it? Yes, I do have that. 6 years old, she can speak her mind. She can tell you, I will not do it. And I go like, no, you are doing it. I'm your mama and you will do it. So they are being taught some kind of, it's a cultural struggle. However, you can always manage your way through when you speak, because she's the type that we sit her down, we speak to her. When you do this, these are the consequences. When you do that. So when you speak to her in that manner, she goes like, okay, ich kann, wenn ich will, aber, because, or I can, or begin to negotiate with you. And we kind of have that African mindset. We can kind of have that Gemini's mindset. So she's kind of having a whole. We don't want her to be timid like the typical Ghanaian. We want her to be that outspoken. So it's not all that bad. However, we need to find the balance. Now back to the board. Patrick mentioned the coalition system with the politics. Yes, Africa needs that coalition system. There is no check and balance. And as it stands, the youth is lacking behind. And the old system, the old men or the old women in politics have forgotten that when they leave power, whatever mess they create, we end up having to inherit that mess. Look at the situation in Ghana right now. However, when we have a check and balance there, that is why my personal love for one politician in Ghana, Sam-George, is huge, it's massive. That guy is young, that guy is outspoken, and his ideas are straight. I know he's going to kind of have some kind of things pushing him, because there are not much of his likes in politics. But when we have much of his likes, we can't change the face of African politics. Especially, I will speak about Ghana. See the situation in Ghana right now. Some years back, it was different, but it's getting worse by the day. We need the youth to be there. We need them to focus on the change they want. If it's possible, we change the age limits for presidency. If it's possible, the age limit for presidency should be changed. You don't have to be a certain age if you're capable and people see that you have the ideologies, the perspective, the vision, how people want the country to go. These will solve the problem. People will not want to Japa if they have their basic amenities met. Imagine Godwin saying a whole South Africa, there is light out, which is also in Ghana. These are basic amenities. Why should the lights go out? I've been here for over 5 years. I've never for once seen lights go off. I've never for once seen water go out. I mean, basic amenities. If I'm hungry and I don't have the groceries to buy, I can just walk 5 minutes and I'm in the shopping center. I can buy something and cook for the children and myself. Very quick. We need basic amenities. We need policies to be written, policies that would help us as individuals, the citizens, not policies that will enrich politicians. Yes, I agree with Godswill saying that life as after presidency or position is hell. However, if they put policies there, they wouldn't experience that kind of hell, because there are policies. If your pensions are being paid, if everything is being done according to the system, you don't need to go into the parliament to ask for what you really deserve or what needs to be given to you, because the policy is there. The policies are the problem. We need to rectify those policies. We need to write things and make things happen for us. When the policies are right, you don't have to struggle for what you really need or you deserve. It is there. Davis mentioned tax being paid. Yes, my tax is being paid. However, the 48% is not just the tax. Your health insurance is part. So I can just pick my card, go to the hospital, and I don't have to worry about health.
Right. Thank you so much, Serwaa.
Yes, they are policies. It ends up with policies. It doesn't matter how much anybody spends on political campaign and whatsoever. If you want the system to work for everybody, it will work for everybody. The policies are the problem. Coalition, check and balances need to be made. As it stands, all the politicians are kind of greedy. It's always about them and their families.
Right.
We
Thank
are
you so much,
equally human.
Yes, of
and
course.
we are citizens. And we need to be also treated as such.
Right.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'm going to think about my next joke because I don't want us to close too sad about Africa. so before that, let me bring on Shadrack and Pretty. I'd like you to just share maybe some thoughts because you've been quiet a lot throughout the conversation, maybe meditating or the seller. Is that thing Anne said at the beginning, right? We've paused a lot now. Now it's time to respond. All right, Shadrack, Pretty, go ahead.
Thank you kindly. Thanks for all the inputs from Joseph, Patrick, Serwaa, and Godswill, and including Anne. Thank you. And also thanks for the mood setting inputs in between, Kenneth. I think there are three things that I want to share in context with the flow of the conversation. The first one is gold. The second one is family. And the third one is winning. Gold, family, and winning. Let's start with the gold. There has been a discussion, even Dr. Ronke touched on it. She touched on the aspect of the unfolding war, which, interestingly, is not the only war conversation on the planet. There's those two uncles there in Eastern Europe that are still having their disagreement. There's a whole lot of other context. But this is where gold comes in. You know, as a family man and a leader, firstly within my household, and then a leader in my community, and then a leader in the nation that I call home, and then a leader in the broader Pan-Africa spectrum. One thing that I've not been able to ignore from a very young age is the issue of gold. Of course, gold takes on different formats, but any power center or any tension around power always emanate from gold. Let's take it back to where I grew up, poor in the village. Do you know that gold manifested itself as to who bought the chicken, who paid for the chicken? So therefore, when we're having a dinner conversation, depending on who paid, that person, forget the politics of the day for a moment. The person who paid for the chicken at the shops in my African reality, in my village, that person gets the first right of refusal as to which part of the chicken to eat and which part to leave to the rest. And those that are closest to that person who has brought the gold home, forget breadwinner. Breadwinner is a terminology for now. Back then we were winning chicken, which is quite sad that people will win chickens, you know, later on. Listen, Brother Kenneth, our chickens did not get a chance to cross the road. They were all eaten. So no, none of our chickens got to even give it an attempt to cross the road. They were all dinner, you know. So yes, so that's the issue of gold. If in my African village, in my home, there was a debate about who will eat what part of the chicken, right there, I had my first political science lesson that the golden rule in life is that whoever, may I borrow your red thing? whoever is holding the canister that has gold makes all the rules. The golden rule in life, whoever is holding on to the canister of gold tends to make majority of the rules. Nana spoke about policy. So the issue of policy, it touches on the power center. Whether it's the power center within the household, when the house is not holding, it means the power center is upset. Pretty was joking with me earlier on, saying on social media, there was a certain brother, was it a brother or a sister? Yeah, it was a brother who said, listen, I have heard that today a household cannot survive without 2 incomes. So if you want to be happily married, make sure that she's earning the 2 incomes. What else? You can decide whether you want to work or not. If she secures the bag, if she secures the 2 incomes, then it's optional whether you want to work. But then if she makes all the decisions, then maybe Houston, we have a problem. You see, I don't know. So that's the first thing on gold. Good people, poor countries will never change the world. No matter how much intentions they have, if countries are poor, they will always get the leftovers of society. So the rule number 1 in a country, putting its people first, they must ensure that that country gets the closest to the gold, to the pot of gold, whether it's shifting the policy around who controls their mineral reserves, but whatever it is, I don't care how a country will punch beyond their weight. But unless the gold is secured, that country can be poor and poor until the second coming. So that's the first thing. And the same applies to the household. Unless the household secures the bag in terms of health insurance, secures the bag in terms of how we're going to move around, how we're going to get educated, what are we eating? Not tonight. No, we can't talk about what we are eating tonight. What are our children's children? What will they be eating? Unless we answer that to the 3rd generation, we are in trouble. Like, I need to use the mic. Houston, we have a crisis. Unless we are financially secure to the 3rd generation. And by the way, black tax, you know, somebody said, we don't give the planet. It was an environmentalist who said, we don't pass on the planet to the next generation. No, we don't pass it on. We are actually borrowing it from them. We are not passing on the planet as an inheritance. We are borrowing it from the next generation. So I think the same thing applies around the black tax. There's a school of thought that is for black tax. There's a school of thought that is against black tax. What I'm going to say in the middle is that thou shall not allow the lazy uncle in the family or the lazy aunt to steal from your children's future. That's all I'm saying. Whether you are for or against black tax, thou shalt not allow that creepy uncle to eat your children's bread. That's all I'm saying. You can now convene around what that means to secure the bag and to protect the gold, not for yourself, but for generations. That look, when I'm on a rocking chair, on a balcony somewhere, there are 3 things I want to answer. When my children, actually they're children, when my grandchildren ask, so grandpa, tell us, what did you do to move the needle forward for Africa? And why don't we see, is your name among the list of movers and shakers that shaped the continent away from greed, away from corruption, and those that succeeded despite the corruption, despite the greed, despite the power blackouts? Is your name on that list? When I'm on the rocking chair, I don't want to, give me a moment, I don't want to grab my shoe. I don't want to grab my slipper shoe and aim it at them and tell them that they are talking nonsense. I want to be able to calmly have an answer for them. So if you see myself being a bit too serious, even when my brother Kenneth is asking us to be lighthearted, when I'm too serious, I am defending my rocking chair peaceful moment so that I will not say, you big head, why are you asking me difficult questions? I should be having an answer to say, my son, you must Google me. You're going to find a few things there that I have done my bit. I may not have redeemed Africa, but I've done my bit. If I do that, I would have gotten somewhere. So that's gold. I need to ensure that in everything I do, I secure the bag for my family, and then I help my community to secure the bag. And I don't know if the country will be assisted by my inputs, but if in my family, by the close of this decade, we employ at least 100 families, maybe we would have gotten somewhere. And that is really a modest expectation. So number 2, family. Good people, no country in the world can ever claim itself to be successful if their policies and their power dynamics and their reality of the day is hostile towards the family unit. Because the family unit is the original institution. The institution of family was there before any government, which is an institution. It was there before any education framework. It was there even before the arts and culture and music. The institution of family was there as the foundation of all society. When today Nana Serwaa is pointing out to the crookedness of politics, sadly, there was a family that was responsible for shaping a messianic type of political leader. But instead, they failed the rest of us. They produced a crook. So if we don't go back to helping families to release better leaders to parliament, to the House of Assembly, then we are finished. So we have to pray daily. We have to find a way of solutioning through business, through policy, and every other way to redeem the original institution on earth, which is an institution that was founded by 2 people. They were given a mandate that thou shalt multiply. That is the original institution. And I'm not going to go into the dynamics around America with gender and other things and other crises with certain rulings in court. I'm not going to go there. All I'm saying is I'm appealing to all of society to say, let's retrace our steps. Maybe some of you don't come from the village like I do, but we are all part of the global village that needs to remember the sacredness of the family unit, including a bit of German that was shared with us today. All those dialogues are happening within the family unit. When Nana Serwaa is saying you are African, she means you have an obligation to the human race in whatever posture you take, and power to you. And on that note, I promise to speak about gold and family and winning. Here is a bit of a tough one on winning. You know, when we first ventured into the tech business, moving from consulting, Preeti and I were set down by one of our mentors. We have a handful of mentors that have been shaping our trajectory. They are a godsend. One of them set us down and said, listen, maybe you want to go into technology, but don't run your tech company in Africa. We said, why is that? He said, unless your tech company can be future-proofed to run successfully in Africa, on African soil, despite power blackouts, despite the electricity crisis, despite the corruption that's not going anywhere anytime soon, despite the poor road infrastructure, despite the emotional currencies, if your business can still run on African soil and help to redeem Africa from itself, then you have my vote. But if your business cannot punch when it is submerged underwater, if your business cannot breathe while it's underwater and cannot, cannot float like a butterfly and sting like a bee while submerged under the swimming pool, then you have a wrong continent, meaning winning is important in life. Yes, winning is not without its setbacks, but let's all strive to win. Despite the odds that are against us, despite the naysayers, despite those that are even daring to ask us, what the heck are you doing? Winning is important. If we don't win, then we are all going to amount to a bunch of losers that will be throwing a shoe at the children that will be asking us, what did we do in our time, instead of sharing answers willingly with them. Thank you kindly.
Wow, as usual. You know, when I first met Shadrack, I gave him a title, chieftaincy title. It's the Blockchain Baron of Africa. So, and he has spread his tentacles to other areas, and something is brewing, and we can't say too much yet, but it's coming. It's coming very soon. That was insightful, and we have run out of time. Let me read what James says. I always like reading James's comments. Very insightful, very powerful. He says, leave it up to Shadrack to provide so much wisdom in such an entertaining and effective method. Bravo. And of course, much of that wisdom doesn't come without Pretty by his side, right? Good one. Thank you so much. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for being here. I'm going to answer the 3 questions myself. I'm going to take 30 minutes because it's my platform. There are no protests. All right. Don't worry, I'll just take one minute. So after that, before that, I'll play a video, and then I'll close the external stream, and then we'll just say hello before we go ahead. I like to mention that because sometimes maybe we don't know that when I close it, we're internal. So this year was interesting. I switched jobs as well, like Joseph, and I began leaning toward Shadrack's admonition about family. You know, when I was younger, my mom gave me very good advice. He said I should not do business because I'm too nice to be a businessman. So, and she was correct, because, you know, I don't know whether anybody knows you better than your mother. You see, I'm too nice to be a businessman. So when I'm in business, I tend to give people, I don't know, oh, the person says, oh, I wanted to pay, but, you know, my daughter went to hospital, and in fact, this is a story. Or you want to invest in something and invest maybe millions of or thousands of CDs. Person comes back to you and says, look, in fact, as I was traveling, we fell into a gutter, the car did this and that, the money is lost, etc. Then you're nice, you know, what do? You know, just be a nice guy. So my mom gave me that advice. So we decided that instead of, we've been doing some things over the past year. So this year, okay, can we ask ourselves the questions that Shadrack is asking? There is a domain that you are responsible for. Your family, maybe an outer domain, maybe a church community. And we have also created a community we call the Strategic Club. We used to call it Kabila Community. But at least if you can't help everyone, there's a small set of people you can help. And that's back to what we gleaned from Godswill, that there's a lot of work to do, and from Shadrack as well. But if we can find a way to help, even if subset of people, even if it means doing the black tax. We've heard about 3 types of tax today. The black tax, the pink one, I think Shadrack talked about the pink tax. And then we've also talked about the taxes that are half of your income in Europe, you know. So even if it's black tax, even if it's the apprenticeship system, where you have a system for supporting people who want to do business, great. But the important thing is that don't neglect your nucleus in an effort to save Africa, you know, or to save the world, right? There's that primary responsibility, and that's something I've had to go through this year, and that is also shaping how I enter the next year. Before I talk about what we're going to do next year in my space and how it came to that, I'll play this video. Right. I thought I would hear a round of applause. I mean, I spent a lot of time doing this video. Okay. Anyway, but that video is basically it's a product we came up with in 2019, and we've been doing it. But this year, my new employer kind of like gave me free range, and I could tell him or her. How do you call employers? I think her, right? That I have this side business I'm doing, and they have allowed me. It's like basically declaring what to do, and it's much easier with my new employer. So I'm all over the place right now because I'm not afraid that my employer will ask me about conflict of interest. So generally, it's a bit of coaching. So we take the person through this strategy program, and we talk about strategy like basically thinking big picture, long term, evaluating all the external factors and the internal factors to you, articulating how you're going to position yourself. Martin says it's a position you take, because you can't control everything. You can't change the world. Corruption is here with us for another generation, like Shadrack mentioned. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it will change. Maybe God will do something about it. But as long as those realities are there, we now have to discover, how do I position myself? And this is what we've been trying to help individual small business. We call them emerging entrepreneurs, those who are not that famous yet. We help them do it. Then we bring them into what is called the strategy club, which is basically a tribe. We can't help everyone, but we can isolate that tribe and say, okay, let's see what we can do for you based on our corporate experience. Then from there, what Iwineti Africa is mostly for, aside from these conversations around Africa, is to showcase these people. And if you see one of our latest videos with Brago, we did that for her as well. So we're trying to do that, and it will be awesome to have you keep sharing, especially those of us in the external audience. Keep letting these conversations go far, because it's helping someone. We are doing what we can, let's put it that way. And we're doing what we can so that we don't stretch ourselves too much, that we forget the thing we're primarily responsible for. Because that's what has happened to me over the years. You know, this is the personal stuff now, vulnerable. You're stretching yourself so much that you forget that area where you're primarily responsible for, the family. So it's basically about structuring in such a way that you can still make impact while making sure that your grandchildren have something to get from you. So I want to, with that, thank very much Anne, Pretty, Shadrack, Joseph, Patrick, Nana, Serwaa, Godswill, and Patrick Odiegwu, who was here earlier. I also want to thank the external audience. Thank you, James, for always being there. Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you, everyone else who was here. Freda was here earlier. Kathy
Dr.
Smiles.
Ronke.
Of course, Dr. Ronke, Babajide was here. Yes, if I forget anyone, please remind me. Freda was here. Tunde, and Ijoma was here as well. Ijoma was here as well. Awesome. So it's been a good day, and we've talked about it a lot. We've stretched it far beyond the jokes, and it's been good. It's been good, and we want to continue the conversations, and I will do my best. We didn't stop because and by the way, I should give you some good news. You will see a video of ours on Trashy Bags Africa. So we've extended it beyond online. We are going to visit entrepreneurs where they work. We went to Trashy Bags to see what they do, how they do it. So I got a small team together to do that. And we're going to visit, the next visit we're going to is a lady called Bee Quench. She does hibiscus juice. We're going to see her process and capture it. And this Saturday, we have an event with Prince Sita Sofa Hissan. He's the president of African Young Entrepreneurs Federation. And he's invited us to cover an event, Ghana to the Moon, right? So we're just going to cover it and capture it. I'm going to see it over the next few weeks. So we're trying to extend the conversation, do more with the help of our partners, people who have been with us since the days of what we call Startup 5, since when we started trying to help small businesses. So we'll keep it going as much as we can, make time and be creative and stretch ourselves as much as possible. So thank you for being here. I'm going to now end the external stream. So
wait! Before you do, Kenneth,
go ahead.
with everybody listening, I really have to thank you for being this amazing, gracious host that you are. You have such a gift of drawing out so much passion in people. You know, all these young people that you've asked to come here, and this old lady, you know, you just keep, you know, with your graciousness. So really, really, thank you so much, and God bless you with all you're doing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you. And that was the vote of thanks. Yes, thank you. Forgive me, my jokes are not that funny, but I mean, I'm trying. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we have to close. We've done about 2.5 hours. Stay in touch. Let's stay in touch. If you can't give people money, give them your time, give them your relationship. Yeah. And support us on social media. Subscribe on YouTube, those internal and external. Get really involved. Get other people to see what small players, so to speak, are doing in Ghana, in Africa, and Nigeria. That's what it's for us, passion. Dangote is already popular. Thank you, Shadrack, for Dangote, but he's already popular. Ilumelu is already popular, but there are some people that need to see that the world needs to see what they're doing. And I thank God for the lives of people like Godswill, who are just out there doing amazing things as young as he is.
Yeah.
So let's keep pushing. Let's do what we can. And then we'll tell a good story to our grandchildren. All right. So let me say goodbye to the external audience. It's been awesome having you join us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.